What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Harrison Graham here, back and better than ever, hopefully. Live here on the Chiefs Report. Took a vacation. Appreciate Tyler Jones for filling in, doing some videos, but we are back. No live show this week. We're back in the fold today, though. Shout out to the Kingdom for hanging out in the chat. Sorry for the slightly late start. Had some stuff going on, but we are ready to go. Producer Nick Roloff, a.k.a. Rolly, hanging out with us as well. We'll get this started like we always do. Shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are watching from. If you're on vacation, shout out that city. I just came back from the great state of Colorado. Great weather this time of year, by the way. But now we're back in steaming hot Texas. What's up, Tony? We got Stefan in the chat. William hanging out. I did have a good vacation, Tony. Good to relax. Took our 2-month-old on his first vacation, so that's exciting. Matt's in Knoxville. Cole says, welcome back. Appreciate that, Cole. Cole in Wichita. We've got William in Piedmont, Missouri. Inland Empire, California. What's up, Ramen? North Africa, Perry. Nice. Vacation or living there? We got Tim in Moberly. What's up from Wichita? What's up, Briz? Let's see. Russ says we can't afford him, but if we have a way to get him, I'm all in. I assume you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins. That's our pinned poll question here today. Do you want to sign him? We'll discuss that in a minute. We got Tony here in Dallas. Perry was there on vacation. Nice, Perry. North Africa. That's quite the trip. I went international last summer to Italy, but never been to Africa, any part of Africa before. Taylor, Aberdeen, Washington. What's up, Taylor? Houston, Texas from Trey. We've got Christian in Wyandotte, Kansas City. Lubbock, Texas from Rodney. Ruben saying hello from Central California. Jacksonville, Florida is where Stefan is watching. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, Brett Veach, throw your GM cap on for a second. Should the Chiefs sign DeAndre Hopkins? He's taking a visit with the Titans. He's taking a visit with the Patriots. Let me know. Type S for sign, P for pass, yes or no in the live poll. What do you guys think? He remains unsigned. Could the Chiefs still get into the mix? They certainly could. It's just a matter of if they want to or not. Tony says pass. William says sign him. Christian says pass. Perry says sign. Vaughn says pass. We got Rose saying sign. Yes, please, from Rogel. We got if the money's right from Jay. Omarion says sign him. Tim says sign him. Ramen says, honestly feel we do not need Diop. We have a good roster right now.
Yeah, I got to be honest, Harry. I don't know why any Chiefs fan would pass.
Oh, agreed.
I get that you might like your roster. You might not want to spend $15 million on them. But I've got two things for you. One, it's not your money, so who cares?
Exactly.
And two, he would immediately be the best wide receiver on this team and basically lock in to what the Chiefs to the Super Bowl again. Like, let's be honest here. If he stays healthy alongside Kelsey, Tony, and then obviously Mahomes, they're going to another Super Bowl.
The offense, which was number one in efficiency and I believe in total and scoring offense last year, will be exactly the same, except for you went from Juju to Hopkins.
Like,
why would you not want him? Like, yes, we want to see Tony have a bigger role and Sky Moore and all this stuff. Who cares? Like, those guys, like, Hopkins is going to make those guys better because he's going to draw attention. He will easily, Rolly, be the second best receiver Mahomes has ever played with behind Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and, I mean, if you really think about all time, like,
Peak Hopkins you could argue
is better than Peak Hill.
But I think this version of Hopkins, like Tyreek's running KC, like Tyreek was a better player. But regardless, like no other receiver Mahomes has played with is close to Tyreek. Now he's obviously played with
I see.
Kelsey too.
I want to see the question. I want to get the name right. Marley Cook says, "How do you come up with the 10 to 15 million?" Well, I feel like there's a multitude of ways.
You extend Chris Jones is one. You can restructure multiple contracts. They already restructured Mahomes, but they could do it even more. There's a couple guys you can cut. You can extend L'Jarius Sneed, which would open up money. Like the bottom line is, if the Chiefs want to meet Hopkins' price tag, they can pay it. They could also do the OBJ thing, Rolly, where they add void years to the contract, where OBJ is going to make up to $18 million in Baltimore, but his cap hit's like $4 million.
Yeah,
like the way you structure it, like you can make, or you can sign him to a 2-year deal and backload it.
Yeah,
put a lot of the money on year 2.
That always works too.
So
just think about it this way: does Veach? He's probably not going to do it, unfortunately. But I certainly Actually, that's not true because I'm a fan of a different team in the AFC, and I don't want to see this happen, but it would be fireworks every Sunday.
Oh, it would be unbelievable. So I hope it happens. We'll see if it happens, but as long as he's unsigned, it's a possibility. Something that also has been discussed a lot as of late, Chris Jones. Will he get extended before training camp? Type Y for yes and for no. Brett Veach spoke on this topic recently. We'll discuss that during our news and rumors segment, but I think this is something certainly that needs to happen. And guess what? If you do this, you can go get DeAndre Hopkins too. See how that all works? Lowers his cap hit for this year and frees up some money. So there you go. Rahman says yes. Omarion says yes. Brisbro, Steven, Tim Carr all saying yes. Tony says, I took my dad to get some burgers yesterday. I had a great Father's Day. It was great. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I actually had my first Father's Day yesterday. Good time. Good time. I was actually traveling a lot, so pretty tiring day, but it was still good. Mr. Monkey says yes. Jerome says yes. Tony, Perry, Tony, New Killer, all saying yes. This one's a no-brainer among the Kingdom, Rolly. They want to get Chris Jones done, and why wouldn't you? I mean, he's arguably the best defensive tackle in football right now.
When you're the best, whatever you consider Aaron Donald, I don't know if you consider him interior or a little bit outside, but it's Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and then as the two best interior defensive linemen for sure. Yep. Maybe the best defensive linemen in total if you don't account for edge rushers.
Yeah. Well, and I just think too, Rolly, we've seen all these interior guys get paid. I think teams fear, offenses fear interior pressure guys more than edges because there's just not that many of them. So the ones that are really good, it's just hard to game plan against it.
Plus, I think Tom Brady has been on record saying this. Pressure up the middle is way worse than pressure from the outside.
Yep.
Because if it's coming through the middle, you're not allowed to step up into a throw.
Yep.
So you have to move right to left. And then, obviously, from a defensive schematic point, if you get pressure up the middle, that will force the quarterback to force out to the left or right, and then that plays in your hands of your DNs who are athletic, containing. So pressure up the middle really sets the whole tone for the defense.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about it too, obviously Mahomes is a guy who breaks the pocket a decent amount anyway, but even great quarterbacks who are mobile like that, when you break contain, you're cutting the field in half.
Yeah.
So now Mahomes might be the exception with his arm strength. He throws across the field with decent success, but still, I mean, I think most quarterbacks would say exactly what Brady said there. All right, we do have a mailbag coming up today. Got to get some questions in there. I think I saw one earlier, but let's get more in there. Hashtag Chiefs. Got to use the hashtag to get your question in there, or you can use the super chat function to get your question answered. For example, hashtag Chiefs. Is Patrick Mahomes the greatest quarterback of all time? Not yet, but that's a question you can ask if you want. Let us know. Hashtag Chiefs super chat. We will get those questions in. Free agency, trades, training camp, whatever you want to ask about. Go ahead and load them up. Speaking of free agency, name a free agent the Chiefs should sign. I think Brett Veach is always opportunistic, looking for ways to improve the team. Who's someone they should go get? Obviously, if you want to say Hopkins for a trade, that's fine as well, but let us know who you want to see DeAndre Hopkins go out and get. Tony says, I really hope Chris Jones returns. Well, he's under contract, so he's here this year. It's just a matter of if they get him extended for beyond this year. But I'm with you. Carlos Dunlap, yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing him back for a one-year vet man or 1 year, $2 or $3 million. 4 sacks last year. There's some other edges that I'd rather have, but if you want to go the cheaper route, Dunlap's not a bad option. Certainly not at all. All right, guys, let's dive in here in just a second. But like this video if you love the Chiefs. Hit the like button. We got 100 people watching, only 12 likes.
Disappointing.
Those are beyond rookie numbers. That's like freshmen on NCAA 07.
No, that's toddler numbers. That's toddler numbers. It's just disappointing to see one of the best fan bases in the world in Chiefs Kingdom just not show up and smash that like button.
Yeah, we're not even at 20% like rate right now.
That's just sad.
It's just disappointing. Makes me want to just have a beer and call it a day. But,
tough. Well, any minor inconvenience in life makes me want to do that.
Yeah. Any convenience in life.
Yeah. Inconvenience, any convenience, beer, and put my feet up.
Did you slug a couple after Ricky's disaster on Sunday?
No, I just
wallowed.
cried myself to
That
sleep.
was tough.
I mean, I knew it as soon as he hit the first tee shot. I was just like,
he's off.
He's done. He's cooked. As soon as, and even though he didn't even hit his driver that bad on the rest of the front nine, it was kind of brutal on the second nine. But as soon as he missed the first fairway, which he's hit all 3 days, I was like, yep, pack it up. Same old Sunday Ricky in a big-time moment.
It's just a bummer because he's such a likable guy. I'm pulling for him. Like, the good news is he's playing good golf, but yeah, that was tough to see. Hopefully, old Ricky
it's like it feels like the world is falling because Ricky wasn't able to get it done again after being the leader for 54 holes. But he has finished top 10 in 3 straight tournaments and is playing the best golf in maybe the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing like a top 20 player. I mean, top 10, you could argue. So we'll see what happens with him. Here's what's coming up live on the Chiefs Report, the latest Chiefs news and rumors. We'll get you caught up on the latest on DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Jones. Hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat if you want to get your question answered here on today's show. Those are the 2 ways you do it. If you ask a question without putting in the hashtag or using the Super Chat function, it does not work. We cannot pick it up with our software, so those are the 2 ways to do it. Also, some post-mandatory minicamp free agent targets. Who are 10 players that I think the Chiefs could add before training camp? I will show you those players coming up later on as well. Like the video, busy show coming up here on the Chiefs Report. Let's go. What is the latest on DeAndre Hopkins? Where will he sign before NFL training camps get here? That's how we're going to start today's Chiefs Report. My name is Harrison Graham. Thanks to all of you for watching. He, of course, remains unsigned as of now, Monday, June 19th. So let's explore the latest with what's happening with the veteran wide receiver. You kind of look at the timeline on DeAndre Hopkins. Got cut officially on May 29th. It was actually announced the 26th, but officially hit the waiver wire the 29th. June 11th and 12th, he took a visit with the Tennessee Titans. Then, later that week, he visited with the New England Patriots on the 14th and 15th. And as of today, he remains unsigned at this point in free agency. Now, there is a report that the Tennessee Titans have made a contract offer. Not concrete reports out there that New England has made an offer, but I'm guessing they have as well. It sounds like that meeting visit went well also. But the fact that he remains unsigned clearly tells me he's at least exploring his options, keeping dialogue going, and maybe hoping some other teams, Chiefs, are willing to get to the table of discussion. We'll explore the possibility of that in a second as well. But I want you guys to predict it. Where will DeAndre Hopkins play in 2023? What team is he going to sign with? Predict that down in the comments below. Hopkins' 2023 team will be, let us know. Some other rumored teams connected to Hopkins over, the past month or whatever. The Chiefs, obviously, the Bills, the Ravens. Now, there were reports coming out of Buffalo that doesn't sound like they were going to pony up what he wants. Same can somewhat be said for the Chiefs, although I do think there's been more smoke around him signing with Kansas City. Baltimore's been mentioned. Could they do another OBJ type of contract where you get Lamar Jackson too? Big-time weapons in the same offseason. We'll see. There's been other teams casually mentioned like the Giants, the Cowboys, but those seem less likely at this point in time. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, I think he finds himself in an interesting spot because I think he views himself still as a top 5, top 10 receiver in the game, which fully healthy, I think that's still achievable. But the past 2 years, he's had injuries. He had the suspension. He hasn't put up the gaudy numbers like he did in 2020. Can he be a 1,400-yard guy? Probably not. I think he's more of, if he plays fully healthy for a season, he's in that 1,100-yard range, probably 1,000 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns, which is still very good and would be the Chiefs' #1 wide receiver. Let's make no mistake about it. Now, a theory that I have, because you're thinking, okay, well, he's already visited the Titans as a contract offer. He's visited the Patriots, could have an offer from them as well. What is he waiting for? Well, he did tell us before he got released that in theory, ideally, he would play for a proven quarterback, a contending team, and a team with a good defense. Tennessee and New England don't necessarily offer those. Those are teams that could be good if things bounce the right way, but they're not the Chiefs. They're not the Bills. They're not the Bengals. So my theory is I think Hopkins could be waiting for a true contender like the Chiefs to show more interest and make a sizable offer. I think that could be the case. Why rush? You got 5 weeks till training camp. This is not a guy that needs to be on a team right now necessarily to have a good season. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I'm curious to see if the Chiefs can get involved. Maybe they extend Chris Jones. We'll talk about that in a second to clear up some cap. If Brett Veach and Patrick Mahomes want Hopkins, they can make it happen. It's just a matter of how much they want it to happen. Now, if Kansas City signs the veteran wide receiver or any other player, we'll cover it. We'll have a video for you guys here on the channel. And if they get Hopkins, we'll probably go live realistically. Hit that subscribe button. We've got you covered here on the Chiefs Report. Don't miss any of our coverage when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get to the latest on Chris Jones and his contract situation. He's got 1 year left on his deal and is currently set to be a free agent in 2024, which obviously none of us want to happen. We want him to be here for the foreseeable future. Brett Veach saying they've had great conversations with Jones and his representatives. Here's a larger portion of the quote from the Chiefs general manager. He says, "We've had great communication and there's a lot of time before camp. I feel good about where we're going with Chris, and I'm sure we'll have a great dialogue from now to the start of training camp and look forward to Chris being here, not just for next year, but for a long time." I just get the feeling this gets done before training camp. Now, Brett Veach is, he's been known at times for these things to drag out, right? The Orlando Brown deal never happened last year. He stayed on the franchise tag. Up to the point where he ended up walking after this past season. So it's not a given that Chris Jones will get a deal before camp, but I think he will. Another example that could say he may not is they traded Tyreek Hill, right? They didn't extend him, keep him around. So there are proven scenarios where Brett Veach could move on or just not do an extension, let this year play out. But I just think Chris Jones is such an integral part of this team and defense. I think it gets done before training camp. More thoughts on what that contract could look like here in a few moments. But I want to tell you guys about our Chiefs hats that are available. These are technically the draft hats this year, but these are hats you can rock all year long. It's not like they're draft-centric. Chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. For those of you potentially attending training camp next month, it's going to be hot as hell. Get yourself a hat today. Protect yourself and do it in style. Chatsports.com/Chiefs draft hats. That link is in the description and in the comments of this video. Click and shop today and represent Chiefs Kingdom with a new lid. Obviously, Chris Jones wants a sizable contract. I mean, this guy, to me, last year, he was the best defensive lineman in football. I thought he was better than Aaron Donald a year ago. Now, I'm not saying all-time or anything like that. I'm not saying he's going to get Aaron Donald $32 million money. But I could understand his reps being like, he's better than Donald now. He deserves a huge contract. 15.5 sacks, 29 QB hits. I mean, this guy is just a menace, and he's improved as a run defender throughout his career. And something we've talked about, too, is this offseason has kind of been the pay interior defensive lineman offseason, right? You look at the updated top 10 paid guys, Donald, who got paid a couple years ago, but Jeffrey Simmons, he got paid. Daron Payne just got paid. Dexter Lawrence got paid as well. Javon Hargrave got a nice deal from Philadelphia. And Chris Jones is clearly better than him. I mean, to me, what I've kind of consistently been saying is make Chris Jones the second highest paid guy behind Donald. He's not going to get $32 million. I think he probably even understands that. So here's my contract projection. It tops Jeffrey Simmons. You play out this year, then you add 3 years to it. 3 years, $72 million, 55 of which is guaranteed, $24 million average. And the reason I went 3 years instead of 4 or 5 is that allows him to hit the open market again at 32, 33. He could get another 2 to 3 year deal potentially if he's still playing at a high level. Now, if he'd rather just get the 4 or 5 years now and kind of just view this as his last major contract, you could go that route. You could go like 5 years and what's 23 per year at that point? $115 million, I think that would be. You could go that route. But I just think that a 3-year, $72 million deal makes a lot of sense. You make it into a 4-year deal with this last year on the contract, lowers the cap hit, win-win for everybody involved. And let's just be honest. You lose Chris Jones, this defense isn't the same, especially this front. I mean, your defensive tackle position outside of Chris Jones is a major question mark. Derek Nottie, he struggled last year as the one tech next to Jones. Hopefully he bounces back. I'm high on Keandre Coburn, but he was a 6th-round pick. Tershawn Wharton tore his ACL a year ago. So you need Chris Jones to be here. You want that security. Keep him long-term. Brett Veach, my message to you, get this thing done. Will the Chiefs get it done before training camp? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. What you think? Chris Jones, extension before camp? I hope so. Get your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about Kareem Hunt. He is going to Washington, maybe? Washington Commanders apparently showing interest in the former Chiefs running back. I thought we would just hit on this on today's show because I still get DMs and you guys in the comments asking, Kareem Hunt, what's he up to? Could he be a Chief again? I've kind of made that clear. I think that ship has sailed, but the latest on him is that the Commanders have shown interest in Kareem Hunt. Josita Anderson having that report as some preliminary inquiries have taken place per league source. We'll see if this leads to an opportunity for Hunt with Washington. I mean, this makes sense, right? I think for a multitude of reasons, not a lot of teams are going to be interested in Hunt. One, his history with the kicking the female video. That's obviously going to eliminate a lot of teams, including the Chiefs, who released him, obviously. And two, he's coming off a bad year, but the Eric Bieniemy connection is there. He obviously knows Kareem Hunt, coached him in Kansas City, and now he's the OC in Washington, so he could vouch for Kareem and try to convince the Commanders to sign him. Now, Kareem Hunt's been a dynamic runner and receiver in this league for several years, but he's coming off a career worst year, which doesn't help his cause for teams that already are going to have some pause on whether or not to sign him. Career worst, 3.8 yards per carry. He's kind of lost that burst. I mean, last year he really did not have that explosiveness that he had, in 2019, 2020, and obviously his 2 seasons with the Chiefs in 17 and 18. He has sneakily been around for like 6-7 years now. So running backs, they slow down pretty quickly. And look, when it comes to the Chiefs, no is the answer. He will not sign in Kansas City. A, they don't really need a running back. They could add a short yardage guy maybe, but B, as soon as they caught him in 2018 when he was having an all-time season, that ship has sailed. They made it clear that they were not going to tolerate his behavior at the time. And look, let's be honest, he always will be a big what if. You wonder in 2018, that year when they lost in the AFC title game in overtime to the New England Patriots, is he enough of a difference for that team to win that game and win the Super Bowl? They should have won that game anyway, but because Dee Ford lined up offsides. But the bottom line is he'll always be a big what if. This offense with a peak Kareem Hunt over the last few years would have been very, very interesting, but listen, we all have to make decisions. He made his, and the Chiefs made theirs in reaction to his. All right, guys, appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Chiefs Report. More coverage to come on the daily, so hit that subscribe button. We got you covered here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. It is mailbag time, so if you guys have a question, I see a couple in there, hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. Get your questions on the show. It's hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat. We'll answer as many of your questions as we can. And if you have any free agency thoughts, trade ideas, training camp, 2023 season, whatever your questions are, we'll make it happen, so load them up here on the Chiefs Report. I see a question from Tony, Jerome. We've got Tim Carr had one a little while back. Jay, we got a few in there. Better job this time. Rolly kind of called y'all out a couple of weeks ago when y'all weren't throwing in some questions, but
I may have called y'all out last time. I'll tell you what, the MVP of the question sending right now is just one letter, because that's all he came to do. Jay. He has sent in 3 or 4 really good questions. So
this could be the Jay show.
Jay might be featured quite a bit on this mailbag because he came up and was ready to get the ball rolling.
So not only a lot of questions, but good questions.
You know what? We talk about this in the NBA a lot, but we could bring it over to YouTube commenters as well. I mean, it's not just about the volume. It could be a lot of bad questions from Jay, but he's sending in volume and efficiency with good questions. Jay knows ball, no Chiefs, knows Arrowhead.
So this isn't James Harden inefficient questions. This is, Pete KD 50, 40, 90. All right. That's what we like to see. All right. Hashtag Chiefs Super Chat. If you got any questions, load them up, because we're going to answer them coming up right now here on the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Harrison Graham here with another episode of the Chiefs Report. And on today's show, we are going to answer all of your questions, at least as many as we can get to. So use hashtag Chiefs or Super Chat, and we will get your questions answered on the show. We start with our good pal, Tony Fuentes. I really hope Chris Jones returns. So let's clarify. Chris Jones is under contract for 2023. Unless Brett Veach trades him, which Can't say never because he traded Tyreek Hill, but is very unlikely in this scenario. He's at least here for 2023. I think he gets extended before training camp. At least I hope he does. I have a good feeling that he does, but we just have to wait and see how this plays out. No panic, Tony. He's at least here for 2023. From Tim Carr, what rookie do you think will have the most impact this year? That's a good question. The Chiefs had an interesting draft where they kind of took some swings later on, like some guys with long-term potential like B.J. Thompson, for example. They took, Wanya Morris in the third round, who I don't think will have much of a role this year. It's got to be Felix Anudike-Uzomah or Rashee Rice. I'll say this, if the Chiefs don't add a receiver like Hopkins, I'll go Rashee Rice. If they do, that could kind of give Rice kind of a redshirt type of first season, and I'll go with Anudike-Uzomah. Will Anthony, Patrick, Bobby, outside of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Jones, who is the most important Chief for 2023? I do think you've nailed it there with that big three of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones. I am going to say, gosh, this is a good one. I want to say it's one of the receivers. Is it Kadarius Toney? Is it Sky Moore? Is it Marquez Valdez-Scantling? That would surprise me. I would say one of those guys, or I would go with L'Jarius Sneed in the secondary, just kind of the glue to that secondary that makes it all go. What say you, though? Cook up this question right back at you. Most important Chief outside of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Jones for 2023. Who is it? Can't pick Mahomes, can't pick Kelsey, can't pick Chris Jones. Let us know what you guys think. Cole Keller, I feel like the Chiefs either sign D-Hop or trade for Danielle Hunter. Yeah, a lot of Danielle Hunter smoke as well. It would be tough to do both. Could you make it work in your cap? Yeah, you could, but I don't think they would do two splashes like that. If I had to pick one, it'd be tough. From a fun standpoint, I'd rather have D-Hop, but from a just kind of complete the whole roster, Danielle Hunter probably helps you more, but it's tough to say. It'll be interesting to see if they pull the trigger on one of those moves. Jerome Bunkers, wonder if the Chiefs are waiting as long as they can to get D-Hop at a reasonable price. Not sure why otherwise. There could be a lot of reasons. Yeah, maybe they hope his price tag comes down. Maybe they are functioning where they need to get Chris Jones done first. There could be a lot of reasons. Maybe they're not interested. I don't know. I think there's got to be at least some level of interest, but it's hard to say for sure. There's a report out there that Tennessee has made an offer. I would love to know what that contract structure is, but we'll see. I think D-Hop is probably taking his time as well. Marley Cook, what do you think Chris Jones' extended contract will look like? Well, the projection I've been putting out there for a few weeks now is this. 3 years, $72 million, $24 per year, $55 guaranteed. I just think he's going to become at least the second highest paid defensive tackle. I don't think he'll top Aaron Jones or Aaron Donald at $32 million a year, but he's getting more than Jeffrey Simmons, in my opinion. Simmons is great. He's younger. I get that. But Jones is still only 29, and he was probably the biggest wrecking force for a defensive lineman last season. Shout out to Jay. If we didn't let go of or trade Chris Jones, could Eric Armstead be a possible replacement? If we did let go, he says. Maybe. Armstead, I'm guessing he's a free agent next year if you're mentioning him. I can look up his contract real quick, but let's be clear about a couple things. One, Eric Armstead is not nearly as good as Chris Jones. He's also kind of a tweener. He's like a 5-tech. So, he wouldn't be a bad recovery. Like if Chris Jones goes for like 25 a year for another team and Veach doesn't want to pay that, then Eric Armstead could be an option. So he can be cut. He's under contract through next year, but his cap hit's huge. He could get cut. I could see that. 15 a year for Eric Armstead, maybe. We'll see. He had how many sacks? He only played 9 games last year, no sacks. He was hurt. So I got to see what he does next year. He was good the 3 years prior, though. Ramen Noodle. Nice. You think Stephon Diggs goes to the Chargers? A, I don't think the Bills are trading him. B, would the Chargers be the team that makes the move? They have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and they drafted Quentin Johnston, who apparently has had a good offseason as a rookie. I just don't, unless the Chargers are sending back Williams or Keenan Allen, if there's some major friction where they just have to move him? Maybe, but I also don't think the Chargers would be the team that pulls the trigger. Join our live mailbags just like this one every Monday. We film these live, so join the movement, subscribe, turn on notifications. 3 o'clock Central every Monday, we answer your questions, so don't miss out. Subscribe, turn on those noties. That way your phone will get notified every time we do go live. Carl is a Steven. More likely to break out, Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore? I want to say Toney, but I'll be honest. Sky Moore drew raver reviews during OTAs and minicamp. Now, it's OTAs and minicamp. It's May, June. You know, Toney might just be one of those guys, too, where he's just a Sunday player. Like, I don't know if Kadarius Toney is ever going to be, like, the overachiever in practice type, but I do think his ceiling as a player is higher. But I loved Sky Moore coming out. I thought he finished last year strong, and he's got an opportunity for a big role this year. What do you think? Better 2023 season? Type KT for Kadarius Toney. Type SM for Sky Moore. I'll lean Toney, but I'm not convinced. It could go either way. From Vaughn, will we see Mahomes drop in production due to an increased emphasis on the run game, or will we remain pass heavy? Well, I think the notion that the Chiefs are just a pass heavy team is a bit exaggerated. They're just so efficient in it that it feels that way, and they get big plays, obviously. You know, his production could drop a tick. I mean, he threw for over 5,000 yards last year. He could go for 4,700 or something. But I still expect him to throw for well over 30 touchdowns. 10 or less picks probably. So, yeah, I don't think the numbers are going to drastically shift one way or another. But, hey, maybe Pacheco's a 1,200-yard runner. We'll see. Juice Tan, 1587, biggest threat to the Chiefs next season. I think we talked about this on a video a while back, but I think in the AFC, I would still go the Bengals one. They've given the Chiefs the most trouble, obviously. You know, I still have to consider Buffalo, but they haven't beaten the Chiefs in a playoff game. After that, in the AFC, I mean, is one of the West teams going to emerge this year? Is Denver going to do it? I don't really see that. Chargers are always a good team, but not really a threat to dethrone Kansas City. Baltimore, I mean, you know, does OBJ and, you know, that passing game with Lamar get going? We'll see. I think Philadelphia matches up well. So if they were to meet Kansas City in the Super Bowl, that could be tough again. We'll see. Christopher Gray, would you consider Toney as a number one receiver? I mean, I have him number one on the Chiefs depth chart, but if you're asking me, like if someone at a bar was like, hey, is Kadarius Toney a number one? I would say no. Like, he has not proven nearly enough to be that. Now, does he have the talent to be that? Yeah, he's explosive as hell. He's great after the catch. He's, you know, silky as a route runner. He's got great speed, but he has not put that all together consistently at all. Now, I thought he kept his head down and went to work with the Chiefs after the trade. He made some big plays in the Super Bowl. We'll see. It's a big year for him to prove he can be that consistent dude. Jay, any chance we get Kyle Pitts if his value goes down after a few years? So you're not necessarily saying now, maybe like next year. Look, I loved him coming out. I'm still high on Pitts. I don't know what the hell happened in Atlanta last year. I think a couple things. One, Marcus Mariota's not, like, if he's your starting quarterback, you're just not going to have a high-octane passing attack. So that's one thing. You know, Desmond Ridder played late in the year. He was a rookie. So I'm still high on Pitts. Like, if you got him like a year or two from now to kind of be that Kelsey successor, he's not as good of a blocker as Kelsey. Not that Kelsey's great in that department. He's just, you know, decent. But Pitts would be fun here. He's a damn good receiving tight end. Cole Keller, do you think the Chiefs trade CEH? That chatter's quieted down a bit, but you know what chatter has increased? Deneric Prince. Jarrett McKinnon coming out, speaking high on him. His coaches hyping up the undrafted free agent running back. If he keeps performing, then CEH's roster spot becomes even that much more in jeopardy. All right, guys, appreciate all the questions. Lots of good ones there. If you have any more, hit me up on Twitter, @HGramNFL, for more Chiefs questions. We can answer them over there. Appreciate all the love and support. It's @HGramNFL. All right, better 2023 season. Rolly, any strong opinions here? Toney, more?
And if I were to just assume that they're going to play all 17 games,
sure,
which is the only way I think you can really look at it. I get Toney's had injury history. more was shaky in
Yeah,
his
when you
rookie
do
year.
these hypotheticals, like you just assume everyone's healthy.
I'm assuming everyone's healthy. I don't think it's really a question. I think Kadarius Toney will have the bigger year, excuse me. You saw the imagination that Andy Reid and others had for him in that offense late in the playoffs, and that was still him getting used to it, coming back from injury. A fully healthy 17-game Kadarius Toney will really pop, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's got – I'll put it this way. I think Toney's got number one receiver potential. I'm not sure Sky Moore does. Like, I think he can be a really good complementary piece. Like, he's a good route runner, but he's just not as fast as – he doesn't have that quite as much wiggle as Toney. I think more, like, to me – you want him to be like an awesome slot, whereas Toney's a guy who can play inside, he can play out. So I'm going to go KT. It's more of the home run play, but that Super Bowl gave me some hope. I mean, he made a couple of really dynamic plays. So.
Harrison, I got to be honest. I think if I were to call my shot, and maybe it's not that bold of a take, maybe it is a bold take, I think I would lean Rashee Rice, the rookie out of SMU, even having a better year than Sky Moore. I was high on Sky Moore coming out the draft. Now that I see the year for him, I'm not that in on him.
He finished strong, but yeah, he's got a lot to prove. I'm excited for Rashee Rice. I'm excited to see what he does. Tim says KT. So does S Bros. Shad and Jay say Toney. So does Tony says Toney. There you go. We're all on the same page. We're higher on KT, but still hopeful for Sky Moore as well. All right, one more segment to go, then we'll get out of here. We're going to take a look at some post-mandatory minicamp free agent targets. 10 players I think Brett Veach could target before training camp. Today's Chiefs Report is sponsored by RexMD. Go to rexmd.com/chat. Get heavy discounts of Cialis and generic Viagra as well. Get going in the bedroom again. RexMD.com/chat. Link is in the comments and in the description. Coming up on today's show, my name is Harrison Graham. Some free agent targets now that mandatory minicamp and OTAs are wrapped up. Chiefs got 5-6 weeks before training camp. 10 players I'm going to look at before the start of training camp in late July. Let's start with the obvious one. It is DeAndre Hopkins, the veteran wide receiver who was cut by the Cardinals in late May. He remains unsigned. He's visited with the Tennessee Titans and New England Patriots up to this point. We'll see if he takes any more visits. The Chiefs have been linked to him, but no visit has taken place. No contract offer, to my knowledge, has taken place. But someone we've talked about a lot and will continue to talk about as long as rumors and links between the two parties lurk out there, and obviously as long as he remains unsigned. I think there could be one of these deals where Hopkins and the market don't view each other the same, right? Where Hopkins thinks, I'm still a top 5, top 10 guy. I want $15-20 million bucks, and the market says, you're over 30. Their last 2 years, sure, when you play, you're pretty effective, but you haven't always been available. You maybe lost a step. There's some chatter of that. So the market might say, you're an $8 to $10 million player. So we'll see what the middle ground is there. We'll see if the Chiefs are interested. I certainly still am. I think he can be a really good piece in this offense. A lot of edge rushers to discuss. We'll start with the best pure pass rusher. That is Yannick Ngakoue, who spent last year with the Indianapolis Colts. And, something just isn't clicking with me. Like, I get he's not a great run stopper, and, these advanced analytics would say, his sack numbers are inflated. Well, when you do it every year, like, you're doing something right. Like, he's been in the NFL for 7 years, and he's never had less than 8 sacks. Like, are we just supposed to say it's a fluke? Like, he just kind of runs into him. Like, everybody else does the work, and he just finishes the play. Like, I can buy that for 1 or 2 years. Like, that does happen in the NFL, where certain guys' sacks are inflated or deflated based on what's happening around him. But 9.5 sacks last year, 10 the year before, 8, 9.5, 12, 8. Like, the guy just does it every single year. I don't understand it. Now, there is a report out there that he's seeking A, a multi-year deal, and B, $8 to $10 million per year. I could see a team not willing to do one of those two, right? Like, if he wants a multi-year deal, it's got to be more like $6 to $8 million a year. If he wants, if he's willing to take just 1 year, maybe they would give him 8, 10, maybe even $12 million bucks. That 8 to 10 for 1 year is kind of the sweet spot now, with Leonard Floyd and former Chief Frank Clark getting contract similar to that number, so I can see that. But for a 2-year deal, not so sure. But, man, he can really rush the passer. Let's go to another edge rusher. That is Jadeveon Clowney, who is really just the opposite of Yannick Ngakoue. He's a great run stopper, not a great pass rusher. Evidenced by just having 2 sacks last year, but he is a capable pass rusher. 9 sacks in 21. He's never reached double digits in his career, which, as a former number 1 pick, obviously, to me means he probably wasn't quite worth being the top selection, but he's still been solid his entire career. He's an excellent run defender and at times can rush the passer. Now, that kind of just comes to what your preference is, right? Like if you're Brett Veach, Steve Spagnuolo, do you want a guy who might be a tip more consistent in Clowney but not the pass rusher that Ngakoue is? Well, it kind of depends on how they view the rest of this group, right? Like I would lean Ngakoue because outside of Chris Jones, I don't think you have a guy that you feel like for sure can give you 8+ sacks. Like, I think Karlaftis could do it. He finished strong as a rookie last year, ended up with, 6.5, 7.5, whatever it was. I think he could take that next step. Amenahue, is he going to give you that? Anadike Uzoma's a rookie. That's asking a lot. Dana had 5 next year. That would be a big leap to 8+. And Ngakoue, he's never had less than 8. So I know he can bring that to the table for this defense. Now, pick an edge. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have the pass rusher in Ngakoue? If so, type Y in. If you'd rather have maybe the slightly more all-around player in Clowney, but not quite the pass rusher, type JC. Pick your poison, YN or JC. Also, get going with RexMD, the opposite of poison. It's going to get you going in the bedroom, rexmd.com/chat. You can get up to 90% off generic or branded Viagra and Cialis. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you are not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. They offer an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to erectile dysfunction, head on over to rexmd.com/chat. Start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and pay only $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. It is rexmd.com/chat. That link is in the comments and in the description. Get going today. The leader in men's telehealth. It's rexmd.com/chat. Another edge rusher to discuss, that is Dawuane Smoot, who has spent the last 4 seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've talked about him a couple times. He kind of fits the height-weight combination that Steve Spagnuolo likes, 6'3", 275 pounds, and you look at his production, it's actually been pretty consistent. 5 to 6 sacks the last 4 years. He's kind of a rotation rusher. He's not someone that's going to play every down, but I don't think you need that. You've got some decent depth. I think just adding one more guy makes a lot of sense. I mentioned the measurables. He's massive. Steve Spagnuolo likes that. He likes bigger defensive ends, and I think the Chiefs would be intrigued here too because he can kick inside occasionally and play some 3-tech for you. So if Chris Jones is checking out for a play or two, Smoot can go in there. So I'm intrigued by him. I think he's a player that we probably haven't discussed enough. Melvin Ingram, who spent last year with the Dolphins. Remember, we all thought he was going to re-sign with the Chiefs after they traded for him at the 2021 trade deadline. They did not. He ended up signing with Miami, and I thought played pretty well overall for the Dolphins. Had 6 sacks a year ago. As a rotation rusher, I think he can do some of that again in 2023, 5 to 6 sacks. I mean, think of Carlos Dunlap last year, right? Gave the Chiefs 4 sacks as a rotation guy. I think Ingram could give you a little bit more juice this season, but he's not going to give you quite what an Ngakoue will do. These were the numbers last year, just 22 tackles. 10 QB hits, though, had a forced fumble. You like the 6 sacks, like I mentioned. As a rotation rusher, I think you can do a whole lot worse than Melvin Ingram. Robert Quinn, who started last year with the Bears, ended up with the Eagles. Not a good year for Quinn. Let's just put it bluntly. But if you're buying into this every other year theory that he's kind of been on for 5 or 6 years, then 2023 could be another good year, and as evidenced with the numbers here, his last 4 years, 1 sack last year, he was not good in Chicago, he was worse in Philadelphia. But the year before, he was one of the best defensive linemen in football, 18.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He was a baller for Chicago that year. First year in Chicago, not very good, 2 sacks. Year before in Dallas, very good, 11.5. Like, it's very bizarre the career he's had. Like, we've counted him out multiple times. Then he just bounces back and hits you with double-digit sacks. Can he do it again? I mean, at some point, you know, it's kind of like the Giants in baseball. Oh, it's an even year. They're going to win it. Well, then eventually they don't, right? Like, it runs out eventually. But I think he is young enough where he can still be a productive rotation rusher. Like, I think he could give a team 5 to 7 sacks in the right situation in 2023. You would think he'd have a little more motivation coming off a poor year last year. So we'll see. Hopefully he ends up landing with the team and plays well. Subscribe to the Chiefs Report. If the Chiefs sign someone, we will make a video about it. Let's get to 43,000 subs ASAP. Can we get there by training camp? I think we can. Hit that sub button. It's 100% free, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. A name we all love is Justin Houston, who spent the last year, I think a couple years actually, with the Baltimore Ravens and had 9.5 sacks last year. And, of course, former Chief, a baller with Kansas City. People thought he was done after 2018, and he's been anything but in the last 4 years. I mean, since Kansas City moved on from Justin Houston, all he's done is gone 11 sacks with the Colts, 8 sacks with the Colts, 4.5, little downtick in 2021, but then bouncing back with 9.5 last year with Baltimore. I mean, you add that up, 14, 22, carried the 1, 33 sacks since he left the Chiefs. That's pretty damn good. I know he's 34 now, but again, rotation guy, played 44% of snaps last year in Baltimore, still had 9.5 sacks. That's pretty darn good. Obviously with Kansas City, just a hell of a player. He was very, very good in his time with the Chiefs over 8 seasons. You know, I think he's a future Ring of Honor guy in Kansas City, probably a future NFL Hall of Famer. And if he comes back to get a reunion, maybe get that Super Bowl ring that has evaded him his entire career, be a great story. But more importantly, a guy that can help you in the locker room and on the field. I'd love to see it happen. Not sure if the Chiefs are interested, but I certainly am. Should the Chiefs bring back Justin Houston? Do you want to see it happen? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I'd like to run it back with him. We'll see if that is a possibility. I want to mention a couple of running backs here. Ezekiel Elliott, who remains unsigned. I still think he re-signs with Dallas because I don't think his market's very strong. But if the Chiefs want a short yardage guy, and by the way, Isaiah Pacheco is still recovering from offseason surgeries, Zeke wouldn't be a bad option. Now, he's certainly over the hill. You look at the kind of decline in production throughout his NFL career, had a career worst 3.8 yards per carry last year. But he's still good in 2 areas. One, he's great in pass pro. Good blocker, a guy you could bring in on third downs in obvious passing situations, and he's not going to miss an assignment. Now, Jarrett McKinnon can do that too, so I understand. And he's good in short yardage. I'd have to go double-check the stats, but in 3rd and 4th and 1 last year, I think he only didn't convert 1 time. So, you know, he can get the tough yards. Burst is shot. Like, he's not going to rip off 20-plus yard runs. But short yardage, reliable blocker, still catches the ball fairly well. Again, he doesn't give you much after the catch, but, you know, check downs, he can do that. You know, if you're looking to add a running back to the room, Zeke is a vet with some experience, a lot of experience. Leonard Fournette, another one. Similar deal. I think short yardage, he's more of a pass-catching threat than Zeke is at this point. He kind of emerged in that way during his time in Tampa with Tom Brady, so something to consider. Now, I look at this running back room, and I'm like, is there really room for a running back? Like, you got Pacheco and McKinnon. That's your 1-2 punch. Edwards-Helaire's under contract. Sure, if you dump him, that could free up a spot. But Deneric Prince has drawn some real hype during the offseason program. OTAs and minicamp from Jarrett McKinnon himself, a running back on the roster. Multiple coaches have pointed him out. Special teams coach Dave Tobe says he's right there in the mix as a return guy. So if he keeps showing things, then you're not going to get a running back, especially if Clyde is here. But if Clyde gets moved and if Prince isn't quite ready, then you could use a third back. That's why I wanted to mention this. And one more here, James Robinson, who I don't want to say inexplicably, but somewhat surprisingly got cut by the Patriots after signing a 2-year deal in free agency. Man, that's rare. You sign a guy to a multi-year deal and he's cut by training camp. Usually you would think there's some off-the-field issue going on there, but I think he might just be done. Like, he had the Achilles tear a couple years ago, hasn't quite been the same since. He bursted onto the scene with Jacksonville as an undrafted free agent, but ever since that injury, hasn't looked the same. But he's a guy to at least work out. We saw the Chiefs work out Darrell Henderson, so if you're working out Henderson, why not James Robinson? We'll have to wait and see if he's under consideration. Now, name a free agent the Chiefs should sign. Just went over 10 players that I think could make sense for Kansas City. Drop a name in the comment section below that you want to see throw on a Chiefs uniform. Appreciate all the love and support. And if you made it to the end of the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's 100% free. You are a real one if you made it this far. My name's Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. All right, guys, we're about to sign off here. If you have any names to shout out, get that going. Seeing some Hopkins, that would be a trade, but I get the point. Can we trade or sign Jerry Hughes? I think he might be with the Texans still. Jerry Hughes. Let's see if he's a free agent or not. Yep, he's under contract with the Texans. He's actually pretty good last year, too. Jerry Hughes, a year ago, had 9 sacks. Wow, he's still getting it done, man. Still getting it done. That was his highest since 2014. Wow, that's kind of surprising, to be honest. Zeke from Finnegan, Clowney from Tony, Ingram from Marley Cook, Kareem Hunt. That ship has sailed. Hopkins again. Obviously, that's a trade, but get the sentiment nonetheless. All right, folks, we're going to sign off. Shout out to Nick Roloff for producing. Do want to show Tyler Jones some love. He did a couple of videos for you guys while I was on vacation. So appreciate his work as well, and appreciate all you for tuning in. Hope you fathers out there had a happy Father's Day, or if you're not a dad, but celebrate with your dad. Hope you got to do that as well. My name's Harrison Graham. We're signing off. We'll see you guys soon here on the